Hello everyone, and welcome to a book review for Into the Drowning Deep by Mira Grant. Oh man, this is a horror sci-fi. Mira Grant is the pen name for Seanan McGuire. I did read one book under the name Seanan McGuire. It was not my favorite. I think it leaned more heavily into magical realism, which tends not to be quite my thing, depending on how it's written and a bunch of other factors. But that tends to be my least favorite genre, is magical realism. But under Mira Grant, it's more horror and science fiction. Under Mira Grant is the Newsflesh series, which is a zombie horror science fiction. Loved that series. Read Into the Drowning Deep. Loved this book. So Mira Grant, for me personally, is the way to go over Seanan McGuire. I am still willing to give anything she writes under Seanan McGuire, which is her actual name, a shot, but Mira Grant is the writing under Mira Grant is my favorite so far. So what is Into the Drowning Deep? This follows a crew. Now there's a novella that takes place before this, which is I think Rolling in the Deep or something like that, where you're on this autogratis ship and they're doing like a mockumentary to see if mermaids are real, and they go out to do this thing, and then all of a sudden the autogratis is found. Not a living person is on the ship. They don't know what happened, things like that. Now there is some footage that is found which suggests that mermaids are in fact real, and that whatever happened, the mermaids killed the people on the ship. That's what it alludes to. So now we're following this, and I can't remember if it's like 7 or 10 years, but it's several years after the fateful events of the autogratis. Now this technically is a standalone, but there, again, like I said, there is like a prequel novella, so it is technically a series. This series is Rolling in the Deep, but again, it's technically a standalone. Do you need to read the novella before you read this? Not necessarily, but I do think you should. I do highly recommend it. But if you were to read this in itself without reading novella, you'll be perfectly fine. But the novella will give you some important insights that will kind of lead to some of the stuff that's talked about in this. So, I mean, you don't have to, but I do highly recommend it. This particular one was published in 2017 and is told in third person. There is an audiobook available for this that is narrated by Christine Lakin. 17 hours and 15 minutes on standard one-time speed. So as I was saying, this one they're on a different ship. I don't remember what the name of this ship is called, but that does not matter. So the captain, or no, it wasn't the captain. She was on the autogratis. She was a member, and I believe she was the person that was in front of the camera to kind of help film and narrate the stuff. So like the narrator in film form. And her little sister is in this book and is one of the main characters in this. And she's trying to avenge her sister, so to speak, to go and find out exactly what happened, things like that. So they go, and you have the crew of the ship, you have the camera crew, so the cameraman, and then you have a different gal who is now the one that's standing in front of the camera to narrate things and to give the voice a story, or the story a voice. And then you have a bunch of scientists. It's the same kind of people, except it's a larger group of people in this book compared to the autogratis. And they get to the Marina Trench, which is where the autogratis was found abandoned, and just a bunch of blood all over the autogratis, and nothing, no people or anything. So they get there, and one of the scientists goes into the water in this submersible machine, and lives start to be lost. They do find out that yes, mermaids are real. One of the scientists says they're more like sirens compared to mermaids. And so there's some discussion. There is a lot of scientific discussion, or a fair amount of it, but not done in a way that is overwhelming to the point that you don't understand it. It was explained in a way that I understood it personally for me. So I understood it. You have a plethora of different characters on this. a lot of women in STEM. So if you want to read books that have women in STEM, this is a good place to go. You have marine biology, and that's just one of them, and you have a lot of them. The company that oversaw the adventures of the autogratis in the novella are funding and overseeing the events that take place in this particular book as well. This does end in a way that I would say is kind of like a cliffhanger, but at the same time it's kind of satisfactory. I don't foresee this going on into a series. I think if it does, it would become more kind of redundant. So I think this is it. So anyway, so they do find out mermaids are real. They find out how the mermaids communicate with each other, how the mermaids got onto the autogratis, and the purpose of the mermaids basically killing the people that were on the ship. That's pretty much what it is. That's the plot of this story. I don't want to say any more because this is good if you find out the stuff as you go. I mean, as the majority of books are. So that's pretty much all I can say. And there are several people who end up with wanting to have certain results to avenge loved ones, okay? Or to avenge their career, to prove themselves correct. All right, let's get into representation. You have mixed race. One of the people on here is a Japanese Australian. Her family immigrated from Japan and settled in Australia, so she's Japanese Australian. And then you have her partner is a French Canadian. You have LGBT rep in this. You have someone that I believe they're bisexual and someone that I think is lesbian. So, but there is a female-female relationship in this. You also have a character in this who is autistic, and it is confirmed. It does talk about that and touch on it a couple of times. So I was very happy to see that, especially where I'm autistic myself, to see that representation in here. That was pretty fun. You also have ASL representation in this. You have an interpreter and two characters that are scientists in this, all three of which are female. They are sisters. The characters in this that are deaf are twin sisters, and then they have an older sister who acts as their interpreter. All three are in the field of science. So that was pretty cool. You have talk of seizures, so you have seizure representation as well. And that's pretty much all the representation. So yeah. All right, now let's get into the language in case you're still kind of on the fence. If there's certain words that come up that may sway you either to avoid the book or to pick it up, then you'll know. The word suicide is brought up one time, bitch once, the name Jesus once, not in a religious sense, dick once, prick once, cock once, damn it 5 times, and jackass once. Continuing on to words that are used a little bit more, we have, I'm just going to go from the bottom of my page to the top. Screwing 3 times, slut twice, nipple once. Oh, content warning. I completely missed this. You do have body horror in this. Excuse me. You also have child physical and emotional abuse talked about, as well as ableism. Okay. Continuing on with, and you have death of family as well. Okay, and that is touched upon a lot. All right, continuing on with the words. The term goddamn comes up 5. Godforsaken once. Asshole tense 10 times. Foreplay comes up once. Shit 10 times. Porn twice. Tits 3. Hell 23. Breasts 6. Fuck 29. Bastard 6. The name God 35, not in a religious sense. Ass 3, and the word that comes up the most is damn, which is 61 times. Now, if you want, you can add damn it to that, where it's the core word or base word is damn. So damn or damn it, as I said, damn it comes up 5 times, damn 61, so 66 times for the core word being damn. So yeah, let me know, have you read Into the Drowning Deep? Have you read books by Seanan McGuire that you really liked, and what's your favorite underneath her actual name, Seanan McGuire? Or do you prefer those written underneath the pen name of Mira Grant? Let me know. What are your thoughts on this? If you have not picked it up, are you now intrigued to pick it up, or is it not for you? Let me know. Talk to me in the comment section below. And until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book, and I'll talk to you later.